Morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to address you. But like it is on the second day of any conference, there is a lot that has been said and done already. So I feel like the fourth husband of Elizabeth Taylor. So I know I'm going to be gone too, and there are going to be 2 or 3 that are going to follow me. But I have to say something interesting and hold your attention for the time that I'm there. So we have an interesting vantage point in Infosys. And the vantage point is that we are a large global SI. We have 10,000 employees and counting. We are $11 billion in revenue, reasonably large. But what is interesting about the group that I head is the fact that we cut across verticals and segments within the company. And our charter is to increase the embrace, catalyze the embrace of open source within the company for our products and our internal information systems, as well as for our 1,200 clients across verticals. The other interesting thing about us is that we embraced design thinking 3 years back, and 70% of the company, 80% is actually trained on design thinking, which is about focusing on the problem of the client rather than latching onto the solution, and whatever suffices. We also have the world's largest corporate university in Mysore. So data is the new oil. That phrase has been used pretty frequently now. And in my opinion, why is it the new oil? Because it needs to be mined, it needs to be extracted, it needs to flow to where it can be processed, added value, and then flow to where it can be consumed. To give you an example, for one of our clients, when the call came in to the customer service, the rep had to look at 3 different disparate sources on contracts, on clients, on their entitlements, and what kind of service support agreements they had signed. And it took at least 4 or 5 minutes for the rep to be able to figure out what is the customer entitled to and how to service that. So we did an engagement to actually bring that together in an operational data store and have a free search, put Elastic on top of it. And that's very typical of the data modernization engagements that we do. So whatever the modernization strategy that the clients are looking for, if they are trying to include a new framework, an architecture framework, go from a monolith to a microservices-based architecture, or upgrade, replace their database platform, one thing is like a common refrain. 70%, 7 out of 10 clients actually look for open source alternatives whenever they are looking to modernize their application landscape. I know a lot of numbers were thrown yesterday, but just so that you can get your mind around it, we have trained, now that we have thinned from yesterday, my multiplier was 80, but I'll use 100. So 100 times the size of this audience has been trained in the last 6 months in Infosys on open source technologies. That's quite something. That's quite something. But the adoption maturity varies across industry segments. And the good part is that we, as a global SI, are able to bring the learnings from an oil exploration sector to retail, to manufacturing, to high tech, and everything in between. I think the slides are going out of sync a little. Sorry about that. So the adoption maturity varies, as I said. Okay. Hopefully we can move forward. Yeah, I'm clicking. Okay. So despite the maturity varying, there are some common challenges that our clients face. The first is trying to find a best fit solution, right? Advertising and marketing thrives on the ability for clients to actually lock on to the solution that suffices, that just meets what is needed. But the best fit solution is what takes the client context and their landscape into account and actually look at all the alternatives that are there along with the commercial construct. Which brings us to the second point, which is that the clients are looking for it to be cost neutral. It should not increase the outlay beyond the budgets that are already allocated, because a lot of them are IT driven. The third one, I don't know if you've seen in your respective companies, is that at times for a single engagement, there are 4, 5, 6 partners that are there. In fact, one VP of vendor management told us that for 8,000 employees within the company, they have 1,500 contracts that they are managing for the engagements that they're executing. The complexity of what they have to deal with in terms of contracts and number of partners and players is bewildering at times. And that's where we come in with a single interface and the ability to execute an engagement with that complex partner ecosystem behind us. There's a lot that has been said about cloud. Yes, there is a cloud strategy that needs to be done. And the last point is on adoption at scale. And that's something that I will dwell on a little more. The savings don't come if you do it one-off. It has to be when you do migrations and adoption of open source at scale. I know this picture has been used a lot, but that's the truth. So everybody has a vantage point, and at times it is limited to their experience, it is limited to what they have to offer. But as a global SI, our vantage point is that we need to take that unbiased view and see the entire landscape, right? And if some of you in the audience would like to be part of this journey and grow a pair of wings, please join us and see if you can help us in this journey to help our clients. So when you industrialize migrations and you do it at scale, inside an SI like ours, we have to do industrialized enablement. I touched upon that. Industrialized evangelization. So we do hackathons along with partners. We have a theme. We have teams that get formed across the globe and actually create reusable artifacts on some of these technologies. And last but not the least, industrialized delivery, which means automation. How do we automate some of the manual things and do it at scale with a lot less manual effort? So open source adoption is picking up, but what we see is databases and database modernization, database platform modernization is by far the biggest theme in that. And most of our clients actually have one or more open source databases that they are modernizing to or migrating to within the landscape. This is validated by analysts also, and it sort of brings us to the specific theme of migrating to an open source database like EDB, and it's picking up, and it's picking up big time. That said, most of these initiatives to actually migrate to an open source database rest on the ability to reduce the total cost of ownership along the way, as I mentioned. And we've seen examples of savings. The savings vary, but not to belabor the point, it is when you do it in an industrialized manner. Right? So I will call upon my colleague Rajiv to actually take us through the methodology that we have and demo a couple of tools that we have created to actually industrialize some of these migrations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gautam, for leaving the most interesting stuff for me. So I'm going to show you a glimpse of how we do this industrialization on the ground, the action. So give me a moment, I'll just start my So as Gautam also touched a little bit, if we look at a singularity of the application, right, the savings will not be much. We'll need to take a broader view. We need to take a broader view of the application portfolio, a broader view of the database modernization, and then is when we can see the significant cost savings that we can get, right? So when we talk about database modernization, right, we need to take an industrialized approach. We need to have a factory model by which we can take that entire application portfolio as an input, and then in an iterative, in a factory mode approach, we should be able to migrate them to new age databases to reduce the cost of operations, right? What that means is also that it is not simple, right? It has complexity, it has challenges. But hey, isn't it why we love our job, right? I think Ed also mentioned that don't think it's simple, it's complex. Yeah, it's complex. There is challenges, right? So the common challenges that I have seen, or we have seen based on our experience on multiple projects across the verticals, I've categorized them into the people challenges, the technology challenges, and process challenges, right? Now, what are the people challenges, right? So when we go in and start planning for the migration execution, we see that the migration team is different from the application, the team who supports the application, right? So there is a lack of knowledge on the part of the migration team on the application, right? Then there are technology challenges, right? Now, not all products are built the same way. Oracle does something in a different way, PostgreSQL does in a different way, right? So one of the clients said, okay, oh, I have column store index in SQL Server, right? So how do you do it in PostgreSQL? Oh, hang on, yeah, I know column store is there, but there is a way you can do it in PostgreSQL. Maybe it is not implemented the same way. There's a different approach, right? Oracle RAC, right? Active. How do I do it? Well, do you really need that? There is a way to do that also in PostgreSQL, right? So these are some of the technology challenges or questions that you'll get when you actually hit the ground on the execution, right? Process challenges. You go there and see, oh, there is no documentation of the applications, right? No documentation of the applications. Then in the middle of the migration, you suddenly find out, oh, I have forgot this step in the cutover plan, right? I should have thought about it, right? So these are the common challenges. Now, based on this experience that we had across the verticals doing migrations and all, what we have done is we have codified this knowledge into our migration methodology, right? So we have reusable program management artifacts. When I say program management artifacts, nothing but, let's say, the work breakdown structure of a large migration program. So my team will not have to start from zero, right? They already have a jump start that I know these are the activities, right? We have a risk management plan. I don't have to think from the scratch that what are the risks that I may encounter when I do the execution, right? We have a cutover plan with all the activities that are required for doing the migration, right? We have created a benefit realization model also, or ROI calculator. Right? Before even if you go and start doing the migration execution, does it make sense for me to move from a proprietary database to an open source database, right? So we have a benefit realization calculator for that. What that helps is when you do the initial discovery phase and then say, okay, I have 100 instances of this database, 50 applications running. If I move it to PostgreSQL, the benefit that you are going to get over 3 years is 50% cost savings. That means a lot, right? That's when you get the senior management support as well. We have built a lot of automation tools that is part of the migration methodology as well, so that we can automate a significant portion of the migration and reduce manual errors during migration. We have a validation framework in the methodology. So once the data is moved, the validation framework can actually not only validate if the data has been completely moved, it can also validate if there are aggregations, are those aggregations working fine, the data quality testing and all. That is part of the migration methodology. So these are the 4 tools and accelerators. So today I'm going to demonstrate the first 2. One is called the Infosys Code Impact Analyzer and Infosys Data Services Suite. The third one is the testing one that I just mentioned, Infosys Data Testing Workbench, and the other one is the Program Management Accelerators and all, right? So before I go and show you how this tool works, the Infosys Code Impact Analyzer and IDSS works, I want to spend some time to explain what it is and why we built it. Because usually, as a services company, we would like to focus more on the services, right? Why we build an IP or a product is when we see that there is a gap in the market, right? Otherwise, we'd like to go with, if there is a partner product, we'd probably like to go there, right? So in this case, when we started executing some of the migration projects, what we have seen is, so there are 3 components in data migration, like 3 on a broad level. Your schema migration, data migration, and the third component is in the application, if there are any inline queries, right, remediation of that application. So the first 2, the data migration and the schema migration, are relatively easier. There are a lot of tools in the market. Migration toolkit, ADO migration toolkit is a great tool that can do data and schema migration. But what about the application? And the applications are also different languages. You have Java, Python, C++, C#, Delphi. How do I identify if there are any specific constructs of the source database SQL written in the application? I know the developer should not do this. They should have ORM framework and separate. But you know, developers are developers, right? So you can't control it all the time, right? So that's when we saw that in the market, we could not find a product or a tool that can do a deep scanning of the application code and extract or highlight what are the inline queries or if there are any specific constructs of that particular source database in the application, right? That is when our engineering team, so we have a small engineering team in our team, we developed this tool. So right now it supports C#, Java, Python, Delphi. What it does, it uses various parsing techniques, right? For .NET applications, it uses Roslyn. For Java, we use Antler, right? So it parses and then highlights that these are the source database specific constructs that you need to take care of. It can automatically remediate most of this also to the target database construct. The ones it will not be able to automatically remediate, it will give you a list of those items and also will tell you approximately how much effort you will need to manually remediate them. So let me now show you the demo. So this is the tool. So I'm very attached to this tool because the initial thought process came from me, and then we, in the engineering, as part of the engineering team, built it, right? So this is how it works, right? So database product, the source, let's say, is Oracle 11g. The target is PostgreSQL 10, right? And then I give the source code location, right? So this is a C# project location. So I said, like, this is the location where you go and analyze the code to identify if there are any Oracle-specific constructs, right? So it will show you all the components in that project, right? If you want, you can exclude some of them. Then you say analyze. It will analyze the code. Then it will show you what percentage of the code is impacted. So here it is saying that, okay, so 8 files out of 95 files are impacted, right? I can go next. I can show that these are the modules, right, within those files which need some remediation. I can select one of them. I can preview the code, and it will tell you which are those pieces of, or which lines of code needs to change. The red ones are remediable. So it's saying the red ones I can automatically remediate. But the gray ones, no, I'll not be able to remediate automatically. There will be some manual intervention required, right? So when I say remediate, it will remediate, and you can view the remediate files also. This is again a configurable location. You can configure this in the settings, right? And then you can, when you preview, it will tell you, so this is the pre-remediated code. This is the remediated code. It will tell you what it has remediated. For example, if you see here, it was sysdate in Oracle. It has changed to current date in Oracle, right? So once you are OK, so that's fine. Next. Then it says, OK, these are the constructs that I was not able to remediate manually. And to remediate them manually, it will probably take 20 hours of effort, right? So this is in a very short, like, the demonstration of Infosys Code Impact Analyzer. There are other features also in this, right? You can configure your keywords. You can configure your regular expressions, right? Due to paucity of time, I'm not showing that. So that actually improves the detection of those constructs in the code, right? So I'll go back to the presentation, and I'll talk about the next one, right, which we call Infosys Data Services Suite, right? That's a complete data management tool, right from data migration, schema migration to, so if there is a data transformation required while you move the data from the source to the target, you can configure those transformation logic also in the tool, right? And finally, when the migration happens, you can reconcile, right? You can reconcile between the source and the target database to ensure that it is complete. There is nothing that has been left out, right? So this product has a lot of features. I'm not going to show you all the features today. What I'm going to show you is how does it do the PL/SQL stored procedure migration, right? In any schema migration, object migration, that is a complex product, the complex part. Now, EDB doesn't have a problem here because EDB has already a PL/SQL compatibility layer, right? But this tool we use for any other RDBMS to RDBMS or RDBMS to NoSQL migration as well, right? So I'm going to show you how we do the migration of PL/SQL procedures, right? I'll move on to the demo. It's a video. It's a huge tool. I could not install it in my machine. So I'll show you a video of it. So this is how it works. The first step is to define the source connection. So you'll see it will soon define the Oracle source connection. So this is where it is defining this, what is my source, right? Next, it will define the configure the target connection. So you are seeing it's enterprise DB PostgreSQL connection. Once I do that, I'll go to the DB, the migrate DB schema feature. I'll say what is my source connection, what is my target connection. Once I'm done, if I say show objects, so when I click on the show objects, it will give me a list of all the schema objects that are present in that Oracle instance, right? Table, views, indexes, SQL procedures, and all. So I'm not going to show you all those migrations today. I'm going to show you the procedure part of it, right? So here, when you click on the procedure, you will see there are multiple procedures there. There is one called find salary, right? So the find salary stored procedure looks like this in the Oracle schema. When I come back to the tool, I'll say show statement. When I show statement, it converts it to a corresponding PostgreSQL function, right? And next, when I say create schema, it actually goes to the PostgreSQL schema, compiles it, and gets it into the PostgreSQL schema, right? So after that, if you see, like it converts into the PostgreSQL schema. So this is what we use whenever, let's say, the source is, let's say, so it works with T-SQL also, not only PL/SQL, with Transact SQL of SQL Server, it works with that as well, right? So these are the two demonstrations that I wanted to show today. We'll go back to the, yeah. Now I want to end my session or end this discussion with a migration case study that we have recently done for a large bank based in Singapore. Just to give an idea of how large that bank is, they have they are a global bank across more than 10 countries in the world. In a single day, more than 30 million mutual fund transactions happen in a single day. More than 1,000 clients get onboarded in a day using, so they are using our product. Finacle is one of our, I forgot to mention that. So Finacle is our core banking product. So they have 20 instances of that product installed in their production environment, right? So 30 million, more than 30 million mutual fund transactions. 1,000 plus clients get onboarded every day, and more than 3 million loan interest calculations happen per day for this bank, right? So we have migrated our core banking product, which is Finacle, on PostgreSQL, right? So it's a 3-year program. We completed the first year. So it's a global rollout for 15 countries, 14 modules like CASA, WLM, and all. In the first year, we have completed rolling out of 6 modules, and the savings that just the license savings, right? It is 65% license savings after migrating to 400 cores. The projected saving after we complete the entire migration in 3 years, and when we move all the Oracle cores to 4,000 cores on PostgreSQL, it will be around 80% of license savings, right? That is the amount of, so this is a license savings. So if there is a migration part to it, maybe it will come down, but still it's a significant savings, right? So we have a booth outside. If you have more questions, if you want to understand in details about our offering, please meet us in the booth, and we can answer specific questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you, thank you. So I wanted, before you guys leave, I wanted to ask a couple of questions, which one I asked you and the one I didn't ask you. So I'm going to ask you the one I didn't ask you first. So we've been working together for many years, and EDB's been focused on migrations, helping customers migrate off Oracle, since the company was founded in 2004. And more recently, I would say about half of the new business that we see is around new applications, and half is about migrations. So I have two interesting questions. We've been talking really more about our partnership around open source in a more focused way, really in the past 12 months. And my question is, what have you seen change from your perspective that's made Infosys bring more attention and energy to open source, and specifically open source database?
Yeah, so as I mentioned that we are seeing this sort of tsunami or groundswell from our clients. 18 months back, I kind of started on this, I was doing something else. And I started picking up on the signals from our clients across our application services portfolio. And I saw a lot of interest to actually modernize the database platform. And specifically from proprietary databases. The key thing though, in all those instances is the ability to unbundle the contracts and come out of it. And I believe there is a session in the conference to actually help customers understand how to do that and to do it in an industrialized manner. So what it's essentially, just to sum up, it's the signals that we started reading from our client base that made us sit up, take notice, and actually have targeted investments in building the talent as well as working with partners such as yours.
Great, thanks. So in the context of industrialized migrations, we see projects emerge. They usually start with a single workload. People get comfortable with migrating, particularly away from Oracle onto EDB Postgres, and then it build out from there. But you describe industrial migrations really as the way to create true economic value and real return on investment. And so, for everybody's benefit, when you think about that, if one of the spectrum's one or two migrations, what does industrialized mean? I mean, you have customers. Granted, you have customers that are your client base. You do hundreds of millions of dollars with given customers. But what does it look like?
So potentially the number of applications, how you size applications varies from customer to customer. But I would think hundreds of cores, if not thousands. Like core banking will be thousands of cores, and it's pretty sizable. But even at the scale of hundreds of cores would make sense. If you're migrating off of a proprietary database.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you.